Ladies and gentlemen, respected audience, today I want to draw your attention to one of the most alarming natural disasters of our time. Cloudbursts, sudden and violent downpours that have ravaged South Asia, particularly India and Pakistan during this monsoon season, cross the Himalayas and northern plains. Hundreds of lives have been lost within minutes as walls of water surge down mountainsides, sweeping away homes, bridges, and entire communities. Unlike ordinary rainfall, cloudbursts are extreme weather events, where more than 100 millimeters of rain can fall in less than an hour, often over very small areas. Why is this happening so frequently now? Why are the casualties rising year after year? And why are India and Pakistan, with their shared geography, bearing such devastating consequences? These are the questions we must explore today. The story of cloudbursts is not just about meteorology, it is also about climate change, fragile ecosystems, urban planning, deforestation, political inaction, and human vulnerability. Today, I will take you through 5 major dimensions of this issue: the science of cloudbursts, what they are, how they form, and why they are so destructive. Climate change as a global driver making cloudbursts more frequent and intense. The geographical and ecological vulnerabilities of India and Pakistan, particularly in the Himalayas. The role of poor planning, urban expansion, and deforestation in turning these natural events into full-scale disasters. The human impact stories of loss, displacement, and resilience. Finally, I will conclude with possible solutions, from early warning systems to sustainable planning, and from cross-border cooperation to global climate responsibility, explaining in detail definition, mechanics, meteorology, why small regions get affected, how orographic lift in mountains traps clouds, why South Asia is more prone due to monsoon circulation, examples from Uttarakhand, Gilgit-Baltistan, and Kashmir. You would narrate how moisture-laden winds rise abruptly, cool, condense, and release massive rainfall in minutes. Compare with normal rains. Show why they're more deadly in mountains than plains due to narrow valleys funneling floods. When we talk about cloudbursts in Pakistan and India this monsoon season, we cannot separate the discussion from the reality of climate change. The atmosphere today is not the same as it was even 30 or 40 years ago. Global warming has altered rainfall patterns, strengthened the monsoon system in unpredictable ways, and created the perfect conditions for extreme events like cloudbursts. Let us begin with a simple scientific fact. Warmer air holds more moisture. For every 1 degree Celsius increase in global temperature, the atmosphere can hold about 7% more water vapor. That means when this moisture-laden air finally cools and condenses, it does not release gentle rain, but instead dumps torrents of water in a very short span of time. This is one of the primary reasons cloudbursts are becoming more intense and destructive across South Asia. The Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea, which are the main sources of monsoon moisture, have warmed significantly in recent decades. Warmer seas generate stronger monsoon currents, pulling more moisture into the subcontinent. But the distribution of this rainfall is no longer uniform. Instead of steady rain spread over weeks, we are increasingly witnessing long dry spells punctuated by extremely heavy downpours. In other words, the monsoon is becoming erratic, swinging between drought and deluge. Another critical factor is the Himalayan region itself, which is experiencing rapid warming at almost twice the global average. The melting of glaciers and changes in snow cover affect how air circulates in the mountains. These shifts can trap moisture-laden clouds in narrow valleys, increasing the chances of sudden cloudbursts. When glaciers melt, they also add more water to already swollen rivers, meaning that even a single cloudburst can quickly trigger catastrophic floods downstream. We must also consider the phenomenon of atmospheric rivers, narrow bands of moisture in the atmosphere that transport vast amounts of water vapor. Scientists have recently observed these atmospheric rivers playing a role in South Asia's heavy rainfall events. When they interact with mountain barriers, like the Himalayas, they can unleash rainfall levels that are beyond what traditional forecasting models expect. It is important to note that cloudbursts are not limited to South Asia alone. In recent years, Europe, Japan, and the United States have also seen record-breaking flash floods linked to extreme rainfall. However, in countries like Germany or the US, strong infrastructure and effective disaster management often limit casualties. In contrast, Pakistan and India face weaker infrastructure, high population density in flood-prone regions, and delayed response systems which multiply the death toll. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change (IPCC) has repeatedly warned that South Asia is one of the most vulnerable regions to climate extremes. And we are now witnessing those warnings come true. Every degree of warming makes the monsoon less predictable and the cloudbursts more violent. Unless global emissions are drastically reduced, these disasters will continue to escalate in both frequency and severity. In short, climate change is not just a background factor. It is the central driver of why cloudbursts this season have been so deadly in Pakistan and India. Deep dive into Himalayan topography, tectonic instability, deforestation in fragile slopes, encroachment on river floodplains. Mention India's Uttarakhand Kedarnath tragedy of 2013. Pakistan's Swat and Gilgit valleys in 2020-25. Explain population density. Millions live in flood-prone areas. Poor access to safe housing and lack of disaster-resilient infrastructure. Stress on shared ecosystem. Indus and Ganga basins both impacted. Expand on lack of early warning systems in remote areas. Poor drainage in urban centers like Islamabad, Srinagar, Dehradun. Corruption in construction permits, leading to illegal hotels and housing on riverbanks. Insufficient investment in forecasting radars. Compare India's IMD and Pakistan's PMD progress, but still inadequate. Argue that disasters are natural, but mass casualties are often man-made narrative storytelling. Families swept away in Himakal's Kulu Valley. Villagers in Pakistan's Kagan cut off for days. Tourists stranded. Share human experiences of trauma. Children losing schools, farmers losing fertile land. Highlight resilience. Communities rebuilding, youth volunteers, cross-border solidarity, NGOs rushing aid. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude, let us remind ourselves that cloudbursts are not entirely new phenomena. They have existed for centuries. But what has changed in the 21st century is their frequency, intensity, and the vulnerability of human society to their destructive force. The tragedy unfolding in India and Pakistan this monsoon season is a warning to the entire world. Climate change is no longer a distant theory yet, is a lived reality. South Asia is ground zero for climate disasters, and cloudbursts are just one manifestation of it. What must be done? First, stronger early warning systems. Every valley should have real-time weather radars, SMS alerts, and evacuation plans. Second, disaster-resilient infrastructure. Roads, bridges, and homes should not be built on fragile slopes or riverbanks. Third, ecosystem restoration, afforestation, river management, and wetland revival are vital. Fourth, regional cooperation. India and Pakistan must share hydrological data, satellite images, and early warnings, setting aside politics for human safety. Finally, the global community must accept responsibility. Carbon emissions from developed countries have worsened South Asia's climate, and climate finance is urgently needed. This is not just a South Asian issue, it is a global wake-up call. If we do not act, the future will see more cloudbursts, more floods, more deaths. But if we learn, adapt, and cooperate, we can turn tragedy into resilience and vulnerability into strength. Thank you.